Hey, what is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a Marvel Strike Force beginner roadmap in regards to some of the best teams and characters that you should be focusing on if you're starting out in the game right now with this ever-changing meta. I figured I'd create a document that's easy to reference in terms of understanding, where these characters rank in the early, mid, as well as end game, if they have value, and if they're noted in this roadmap, then they are characters that you should ideally at some point bring up, especially in your progression. So the cool thing is I did start a new account. I'm following it to the T, and it's been absolutely essential in terms of my progression and growth, and I've just been seeing all the efficiencies that I've been able to capitalize as a result of that. So I wanted to share that with you. I'm also going to have a copy of it as well in the link in the description below, so that way if you guys want to download the infographics, it's just easy to reference, but it really gives you a sense of which characters are and team combinations are of value to you, especially when you're starting out in the game, whether you're returning to the game and haven't played for a while. Well, this is going to capture all that, guys. That said, let's get right started. So starting things off here, I made the segment here called the starting team. So there's going to be a few starting teams that really capture some of the more powerful value teams early on in the game, but as well as how they're going to be actually able to bring dividends if you bring them up later in the mid game, as well as end game, because a lot of these team synergies, they are going to be used again later on. So if you get your hands on any of the characters here, they're going to be providing value regardless of where you are in the game. So starting things off, guys, there's a way that we do want to group up how everything's kind of color coded. So starting with the Wave 1 Avengers here being a balanced team, everything that's in green, it means that it's pretty easy to obtain, or it's free to play, and pretty much you should be getting it within the first week of playing the game, or first couple weeks, very early in your account progression. Anything yellow, it means it's probably more transitioning to the mid game, and then red is either a legendary or it's not farmable. If you have a legendary like Iron Man, where he is actually pretty easy to obtain, then I did put him in yellow. So it kind of just gives you a classification coding in terms of how hard some of these characters are to obtain. I also put the legend in the bottom there if you needed a reminder. But yeah, green is early game, yellow is easy to moderate mid game. We have the official mid game being level 70 plus for orange, and then lastly end game or not farmable is red. And I wanted to point out the Wave 1 Avengers and the Young Avengers for a couple reasons. They're both really balanced teams. Young Avengers is simpler because you don't see as much happening with them, but you can see with them being a balanced team, it means they can be used in all game modes. And look at the Young Avengers. The majority of them are in green boxes, which means they're pretty much ready to, right from the get-go to be able to be farmed right away or obtained via store. So that's why it's really good, guys. And if you guys are curious where they are, you just need to go to your roster, select a character, and then hit find on the bottom right to see where they are kind of grouped up. I didn't want to overload the amount of information in this infographic, so just to keep it simple. But yeah, in the Young Avengers case, you can see here, Kate Bishop really is the only one that's on the far right. That's kind of harder to obtain until later, easy to moderate stages. And then what I have on the bottom is essentially if this character is consistent or utilized in another team. So with Miles Morales, you see that he does have a green arrow, which indicates it's easy to obtain, linking to another team being the Web Warriors. And Web Warriors are a raid team, which I've noted on the bottom there with some text. So that way you have a bit of context in regards to what kind of team this is meant for later on. I will say though, they're a really good team starting off, but because we do have the Rebirth team, which I have to the left there, starting with Winter Soldier, Captain Carter, it's something to be mindful of depending on when you guys watch this video if those characters are farmable. Web Warriors are still really good, easy early on, but just keep in mind they're likely going to get replaced by Rebirth once they become more farmable. That said, that's pretty much a good capture and summary of the Young Avengers. Again, a huge all-rounder team and an absolute must-have. I use them every day in the end game right now, so if you guys can get them early on in the game, they're going to provide a lot of value, especially as you take your progression to the next step, as you get stronger in your game progression. So next up, Wave 1 Avengers, balanced team. They're a very, very special team, guys. The reason they're on here is because each and every member of them, especially the first four here with Hulk, Captain America, Thor, and as well as Iron Man, they actually make up a different team. So that's why it really does make sense to build each and every one of them early on. Now, the reason why Hawkeye and Black Widow are in a smaller box is that's my way of indicating to you guys that they're not as important. They're not used in another team, and they're just there kind of to be that fifth supplementary piece if you would like, but not absolute must-haves like the boxes that I have here. And you're going to see that pattern consistent as well under Asgardians, where I do have Heimdall, Sif, Loki in smaller boxes because, quite honestly speaking, they're just not as important as the larger pieces. But now, I really like the balanced nature of Wave 1 because you can get access to them very early on in the game, and just look at how pivotal they are. Hulk is part of the Gamma Endgame team that's part of a war team, and as well as a legendary Horseman Scourge, right? And you'll see that later on. I'm going to break that down later at the end. Captain America, part of that Rebirth new raid bio team that's going to be absolutely necessary for the Doom 3, Doom 4 raids in the future. So that's absolutely huge, guys. We have Thor being part of Asgardians, a very strong war meta team. But overall, their synergy and value also comes from the fact that they're used as one of the best teams in another Scourge event to unlock Apocalypse. And then lastly, we have Iron Man being part of Bionic Avengers, an absolute must-have for raids, specifically for that tech trait. I also have underneath the Asgardians here Hela and as well as Zombie Iron Man because they're part of the Undying team, and they're used mainly in war. So it just gives you a good encompass here of, you know, where they rank in terms of with each other in the teams, but as well as the team makeup. So just a really good infographic in terms of understanding if you have, you know, so-and-so, you know, which team are they part of and are they actually have value. And yes, like I said, if a character is shown here, it means they're going to give value unless they are in the smaller boxes, indicating that they are of lower importance, and you likely won't have to invest too much. Like I personally don't have Hawkeye and Black Widow built up in my newer account, but I did make that mistake previously. So this is just a way to kind of capture those efficiencies and who's of value. But again, you can see here a Rebirth, they have Captain Carter, US Agent, and Agent Venom, all being in the red boxes, which means they're not farmable in the game, right? So it's just a good way to see, oh hey, these are the characters I have. Can I farm these characters yet? No, you can't. So again, all the little details does add up in terms of allowing you to have that good capture. So I'm hoping with this infographic, you guys are able to look in your roster and determine, hey, if I have Vision and, you know, Hulkbuster, how close am I to getting the rest of my Bionic Avengers? Who am I missing, and so forth. And it's just easy to kind of capture that for understanding, you know, what's in your team and what isn't, right? So that's the first page of the starting teams. I have two more teams that's actually really good too that I want to bring your attention to, and that's Wakandans and the Secret Avengers. So with Wakandans, again, similar to Young Avengers and Wave 1, they're a well-balanced team, an absolute must-have, but they are very generous in the sense that they actually have more than 5 characters. So we have the first original 4, we have a legendary in Shuri, as well as War Dog, which were previously added as part of a newer patch near the end of last year. So that's why it's a huge value, guys. The Wakandans make up Wakandans as well as War Dogs, but more specifically, War Dogs is more of a war meta team, whereas the Wakandans are actually all-rounders, but I mean, with the recent buff to Cosmic Cruise segment. I also wanted to add up here, guys, as well, like Shuri is very, very unique in the sense that she is one of the best and easiest legendary characters to unlock. So I wanted to add that verbiage there because of the fact that, you know, you can have a versatility of 15 different characters to unlock Shuri. Absolutely huge. So and then the amount of value she can give, being an all-balanced, well-rounded team. She's one of the first healers you can get, generating energy, having the supportive capabilities for Wakandans. I can't say enough about Shuri, so that's why I wanted to add that there. If you can focus on getting her as a legendary early on in your progression, it's going to pay off huge dividends. Next up, we have the Secret Avengers here, and they're a raid team. They're pretty much the only answer right now that we have in skill in combination with Kestro and Shang-Chi. But I mean, you know, this is what we have right now, so we have to make the most out of it. And I included Winter Soldier as well as Nick Fury, because you do need these two to actually unlock, in my honest opinion, the best non-Horseman, non-Apocalypse related legendary character in the game, and that's Omega Red, who I have in the red box there. And with Nick Fury's case is more of high importance because you actually need to farm 5 tree minions to actually unlock Nick Fury. So surprisingly enough, he's not actually an important character individually, but he's needed to unlock Omega Red here. So that's why it's very important if you guys are starting off with all the campaign energy. It's very, very important day by day to farm those Kree minions, because he's going to be part of this 5-member casting crew to unlock Omega Red. And I can't say enough about that, because the amount of value you're going to get from unlocking Omega Red, he is just going to dominate, especially with him being a villain global character as well as a legendary. So just keep that in mind, you guys. It's a very, very important detail, just because of the amount of farming that's involved and required to actually get Omega Red. Next up, we also wanted to make some mention of beginner essentials. So I didn't want to overwhelm with detail, but there are some characters that are definitely essential in my honest opinion in terms of progression and kind of just transitioning you to the mid and end game because of the value they bring and their versatility. And you may not need to bring all these teams up, but they're just honorable mentions, and as well as some god tier characters that we should mention. So from the left there, guys, starting characters, we have Shang-Chi, Gamora, Nebula, we have Baron Zemo and Yondu. Getting your hands on them, and look at all of them. Every single one of them is green, which means you can pretty much farm them the moment you're in the game, assuming you have unlocked the appropriate store, such as the raid store for Baron Zemo, certain campaign stages, obviously for Yondu, Nebula. But Shang-Chi being in the Blitz store, same with Gamora, having access to those two characters, they're plug and play, some of the best in the game, especially with Gamora and Nebula in tandem. When you're needing really essential cosmic characters to go through campaign nodes, those two can take out a lot of different enemies and waves just alone. They're also making up one of the best teams in the game, being Infinity Watch, so that's why I did put them there. The mention with Phyla-Vell, Moondragon, as well as Adam Warlock. Again, another well-balanced team. Only catches is that obviously Adam Warlock is harder to unlock with him being a legendary. Baron Zemo, you know, he doesn't need a team, but I wanted to give an honorable mention to the Zemo Hydra, which consists of himself, Winter Soldier, again, he's mentioned quite a bit, as well as Crossbones with a smaller box, which means he's not of importance, right? But Winter Soldier being part of Rebirth, being part of unlocking Omega Red, and then we also have that synergy with Baron Zemo. It really does make sense to have some of these characters built up early rather than later, and that way you're going to get huge dividends, especially with Baron Zemo. Pretty much essential for the villain chapters if you guys are trying to get through it without aim team, or as well as a strong Hydra like Red Skull. So Yondu, again, another key cosmic character that can have some synergy with other cosmics like Gamora, Nebula, but also being part of that reworked Ravagers team, and he can actually be partaking in multiple Scourge events at the very end, as well as having those Ravager minions, which was actually needed for the last Scourge we had in being the Death Scourge. So I mean, just, you know, minions were required, and it's nice that a Ravager team was relevant, and they're definitely one of the better minion teams out of the bunch. God tier characters, guys. So these are characters, unfortunately, that are not farmable in the game, but they are available through means of luck, RNG, as well as you know, the orbs that we have available. So that's Kestrel and Deathpool being available in the milestone orbs, and then we have Circe and Icarus, part of that Eternals team. All these characters are absolutely god tier. If you can get your hands on them, they're just gonna absolutely, you know, blow the competition away, and it's really assist you in your journey and your progression. We also have Spider Weaver in the red box there, because right now she's not farmable. But if you guys were able to play in the last month, there was a hiccup with the event where everyone was pretty much awarded a 7-star yellow of Spider Weaver. So if you could take advantage of that, great. If not, if you're watching this later on in the future, dang, it's too bad, because Spider Weaver is a really powerful character, an absolute beast right now in the Arena and Cosmic Crucible meta. So there you guys have it, beginner essentials, as well as some essential strong beginner player teams. With the last infographic here, it's just something that was already on the website, but I wanted to repost it for your guys' reference, as well as kind of circling some of the best highlights of this. So Apocalypse Saga started in the 2022 year with all these different stages of the Horsemen. Each and every one of these teams, so in the middle Horseman team, we see Darkhold, Unlimited X-Men, Gamma, and Deathseed. They're all powerful teams in the game. We need them all built up to actually unlock Apocalypse, in addition to the three that I kind of put in the white box there, being Spider Weaver, Kestrel, and Deathpool. Hence the reference in my previous slide of them being absolutely essential and god tier. Now we know that they are actually also required for Apocalypse. That said, when you guys are going through the scourges, how do you unlock these legendary horsemen? Well, you need to actually go through their respective scourge events. So in the very bottom of the pyramid there, I did put in the white box the best teams in terms of who you should be building up if you're planning to directly unlock the legendary through the event, through the milestone. So Web Warriors is the best utilized for Pestilence Scourge, unlocking Morgan Le Fay. Young Avengers are the unanimous decision to unlock Rogue, part of that Famine Scourge. We then have Heroes as Guardians being the best lock for Red Hulk being unlocked in the Gamma. Keep in mind too, Ravagers are also viable, but Heralds as Guardians are definitely the best. But the Ravager, you can get some value again from previously the slide I had. But overall, if you guys have a strong Ravager or Wave 1 Avengers that I noted in the starting teams, they can all absolutely have a shot of unlocking, especially if you build them up high enough. It's just Heroes as Guards are the best value in terms of their potency and getting deep into the Scourge. And last but not least, both Bionic Avengers and Wakandans are viable if you just want an unlock of specifically Archangel through the Death Sea Scourge. Combination of this, guys, is pretty much a walkthrough in terms of the 4 different Legendary Horsemen, their respective teams, plus Kestrel, Spider Weaver, and Deathpool, ultimately unlocking Apocalypse if you have all of them built up to the right level. So, crazy information overload, guys, I know, but feel free to take your time through this. I put a lot of thought and time into kind of building which I think are the best teams in terms of beginner. Obviously, this does not capture every single team, and there's certain gaps here and there, but I think this is going to give you guys a really, really good starting point, especially if you're returning to the game. If you're brand new and you're just wondering which characters and teams to build, well, this is a great summary in terms of where you kind of sit, which characters are related to which teams, and how it's going to be coming together at the very end, ultimately unlocking an endgame character in Apocalypse. So let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. I always love to hear it back. Let me know if this is helpful. Again, I am going to post a copy of this in the link description below, so that way if you guys wanted something to reference off video, offline, that's going to be available. So thank you as always, you guys. Do appreciate you checking my videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.